What's good, everyone? It's your boy Sifu G, the esoteric warrior. Hope everyone's doing good today. Well, it's been a minute since I've done a little podcast, and this podcast will be all audio, although I'll be sharing some pictures from the White Eyebrow or the Bat May Pie book that is available on Lulu of the Secret Formula Series Volume 1 regarding the Dew family Bat May Pie. Alright, so I've had a few questions asked, but before we start this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Let's get the algorithm up and help Sifu G spread this information. I've had a few questions, as I just said, a lot from Kevin as well, regarding the difference between Chong Bo Kuen and the Yeung Jik Bo Kuen. In Dew Family Bat May, there is 2 forms to complete level 1 when it comes to the forms itself. There's other training. If you've got the book, you'll understand there's a lot of different exercises and strength building, conditioning before you even get to do form work. A lot of people out there are now saying that they're representatives of Dew Family, Bat May, and Bak Fu Pie and have no idea what the hell they're doing. So I just would like to share some of the information. And yes, for you haters, you might get something from this and play your forms better. Alright, so the first level of Bat May contains 2 forms to be mastered, because those 2 forms contain the seeds of understanding yin yang. The body is made up, when we use it in a polarity way of knowledge, the upper body is yang, the lower body is yin. The left side of the body is yang, the right side of the body is yin. The front of the body is yin, whilst the back of the body is yang. Since everything is played using Fao Chum Tum To, the rising and falling of the stance and body, Fao represents yang, lifting up, floating. Chum, sinking, represents yin. Tum is contracting inwards, that represents yin, and yang represents the toll, the expanding action of the movements and breath and so forth. So everything's working in a yin yang counterpart regardless. The form Chong Bo Kuen means rushing step fist, and when a beginner learns and comes to class, and just say they're learning Chong Bo Kuen, this is the first form, and usually, and this is why it's taught as a rushing step, not so much as, let me try and break it down. It's not so much rushing in and panicking, it's rushing in like the tide. It's a constant pressure, right? So the movements of Chong Bo Kuen, all power is equal, left side and right side. The stepping, all the same type of power, right? So a beginner or a newbie, when they start Kung Fu, they're going to muscle most of the form, right? When someone starts, they don't know their body so well. I think in some southern mantas, they call that type of power Chol Ging, which is like a rough type of power. So it's just a beginner's way. If you get a person with gloves on, say, hit the pads, they're just going to muscle it. They think everything is power, but just by muscle. So in the beginning, that is true, and that's what needs to be understood, is the muscular system with the skeletal system. The skeletal system belongs to the Bat Ging or the Luk Ging. When we talk about the Bat Ging, as in the joint theory, we got the ankle, knee, hip, shoulder, elbow, wrist, the neck, and the jaw. So a good boxer, they train their neck ging, and so does wrestlers. Neck bridging, you see Tyson doing some of that as well. Boxing also has a type of headgear helmet that's on a pulley system, and they bring their head forward and back, and they build up their neck power left and right. Right, the jaw power, they hold like a piece of leather and a weight, and they pull that with their jaw power. So keeping the mouth closed on impact doesn't allow you to get your jaw broken if someone counter punches. It's quite simple to understand. A lot of people are using all these different poetry. I don't believe so much on the poetry side, because people can talk a lot of it and cannot do it. And what's more important is to be able to do what the art's supposed to teach you. So the Chong Bo Kuen, both sides, the left and right, when you spear, finger and punch, every move is equal in force. Right, so it's like the tide coming in, it's just creeping, pressuring forward. When you're stepping, the stance and the step itself, the leg power, every bit of the body has the same force going forward. The Yeung Jik Bo Kuen, then because of the name, yin yang, we start to split that and understand the soft and hard side of the body, transition on how to move without being rigid, right? And when I talk about rigid, it doesn't mean so stiff. Like, there's a lot of people demonstrating bap mei and bak fu pai and they're stiff as a board, and that just means they haven't understood the Chong Bo Kuen correctly. And then there's people teaching, just giving out form after form, certificate after certificate every couple of weeks with sashes, and they just still can't do the basic form, right? If you those two forms, it should take at least a year and a half of practice with all the conditioning, strength training that's within the book. So if you look in the book, the Yeung Jik Bo Kuen form starts at page 328. So there's all this other training that should be developed before you even get to the form, right? Because they're going to teach you also the principles of power, strengthen the joints. Hitting the air is not very good for the body, right? No matter if you're talking about using ging, right? And this genjak ging is the highest level of bap mei to achieve a certain type of force that is called scared power, right? Shock power. Shock power cannot be produced by just doing forms, right? So the form means nothing, and if you haven't mastered Chong Bo Kuen and Yeung Jik Bo Kuen, forget even doing any other higher set, because the two pulley systems that are found within these two sets are found in the higher sets. And if you don't know the two pulley systems, you're just playing a shell of a form and bad at that, right? So it's important to understand that the pulley systems and how it works with the body, strengthen the body, hitting things, all the conditioning, like I said, bag work, mitts, and so forth, is going to strengthen those joints, the muscular system, and so forth. So Chong Bo Kuen allows you to, as a beginner, have equal power, not even looking at the yin-yang aspect of movement, right? And the pulley system 1 that's in the book is opening and closing the chest. And when opening and closing the chest, that's also the scapula, right? So the pulling back of the scapula and the shoulders opens the chest. They call tan han. And then when you close the chest and round your back, that's to han. Right? So it's important that we establish the correct pulley system for Chong Bo Kuen before venturing into the second pulley system found within Yin Yang straight step punch. So the first pulley system, as you're opening up the chest, you'll be pulling if you're doing the bilji, and the right hand is pulling away and into the body and opening the chest, and then when you drop and punch and use chum ging and sync with the punch, then you got the to han, right? So that is a basic Su Sapchi cross pattern ging, up and down, and it's straightforward. Both sides is equal, and that's the first pulley system. Once we get to the yin yang straight step punch, the theories are taught of the body, understanding the yin yang of where to hold or have the muscle, muscle loading, right? So there's muscle loading within these forms. You're not loose, right? You got to have some type of softness, but the softness is not loose where it's dead power and the structure is useless, right? You got to, when you bring those elbows in, you're already causing some type of tension somewhere in the shoulders, forearm, and around the elbow area. So there'll be an elbow type of power already loaded. So every posture in Bap Mei, because of that elbows in, will create muscle loading within the body. I've heard people say, oh, you got to be loose like jelly and flop out your arms, and your elbow's going to be if you haven't developed your body correctly and your punches, the most basics, you're going to be doing damage to the body. I've seen a so-called teacher whipping his neck into it, and his head is wobbling around. That is not Bap Mei principle. The head is and neck is solid as well. Same with the abdomen, right? The core, we keep that firm as well. Not tight, but firm. And we want to keep the air low. Think of a cobra, how it when you pull that stomach in, you're keeping that firm from getting struck, right? So we keep the air down there, not just in the dantian, but around the gaisan and the gumsan, right? The chicken heart point of the solar plex, we want to protect that at all times. So it's important for a good teacher to be able to teach correctly, and that's why the book is such an important book that we've put out, because there's so many people contacted me regarding Do Family Bap Mei, and they have no idea what they've been taught and why these two forms. They've already moved on to higher forms, and then they send me a video of them doing Chong Bo Kuen, and they haven't even learned how to use two hands correctly, right? The power. In Bap Mei, two hands are always working to help each other, right? If you look at some of the videos that people are posting, they can't use one side properly. They're just one-sided, and the other hand is dead, right? So they're losing ging, and they talk about, oh yeah, ging jack ging, sapchi ging, look ging, and they're doing all these videos and trying to show off, but they have no idea what the hell they're talking about. It's very cringy, right? If you don't know Cantonese, just speak it in English. It's much easier for you to understand. So the Yeung Jik Bo Kuen is now working on the second pulley system, which is splitting the up and down motion, not in and out. It's up and down of the body. And I've made these, the Subji Gings, Su Subji, or the small cross and large cross pattern of the body. I've created the term a pulley system, right? So that all comes from me, the pulley systems, right? So it's in a cross grid. The small Subji is, just think from your pelvis up the center line up to, just say, your neck, to your chin even, and from shoulder horizontal to the other shoulder, like a cross, right? So the chest and the center line. So you get Fao Chum, Tum Tol in that basic first cross, which is found within the book and Chong Bo Kuen. Then you get into the splitting action of the yin yang, and by splitting up and down, you unify the yin yang. Usually I teach, as soon as you finish Chong Bo Kuen and you've got that raw type of power and snap, but it's still not ging, right? Because anyone can put on a floppy jacket and snap. A lot of people chuck on their pajama jackets and make all these noises but can't punch bags properly, right? So don't believe what you see in people trying to do forms. Like I said, the forms mean nothing. The fighting ability and the power generation is what Bat Mei is based on. So the Yeung Jik Bo Kuen has a softness and a hardness within every transition, and that needs a qualified teacher, unless you're smart enough and you understand where to hold that softness. Softness is not dead power, right? So after you build G, and then you're going to go into your Fujiao and your claw, right? Has to release to do the claw. Otherwise, you're just doing Chong Bo, all rigid power. So there's a softness in between each little transition of movement, and that's why it's called the yin yang straight step punch. It goes from the Chong Bo, which is a raw type of force, even on both sides, and then you've got a soft and hard action within the yin yang, because no beginner's going to be able to master the yin yang side of things straight off the bat, right? That takes years, and that's why Chong Bo Kuen and Jik Bo Kuen is the first and last form of the system. All the other forms don't mean anything, right? It really doesn't. If you can't play your Chong Bo Kuen, Yeung Jik Bo Kuen correctly, why even bother? Why even grade someone and give him a sash and a new belt and a new certificate? Oh, he's at purple sash now. Congratulations, you've been here 2 weeks. Right? It doesn't work like that. It takes a long time to understand Bat Mei power, understand the body, just like a normal boxer and everyone else that starts their training. They start with striking things, not forms. Shadow boxing, in boxing, Western boxing, is a type of form, but it's free flow, and it's not done snapping your joints and locking them out. So there's a difference in the way Western boxing trains to Chinese boxing doing forms. So the forms are not the be and all of Kung Fu. Another form just means another dance routine that you're going to have to learn. And if you haven't even understood the 2 pulley systems, because those 2 pulley systems after the Yeung Jik Bo Kuen will have both of those 2 pulley systems hidden within certain movements. And if the teacher doesn't understand that and know it, then all of the forms are going to be rubbish. And that's why there's a lot of Do Family new representatives out there that are absolute rubbish, right? They do not know a thing about what they're doing because the person teaching them, or if they just buy it off a video of Do Wei doing something, and Do Wei doesn't talk about any of this stuff. It's only been usually when you talk to Do Wei, right? He doesn't tell you anything on videos. If people have got videos from Do Wei before, they'll understand there's nothing on them except him showing forms. Unless you know him personally like I have, and I was his student, I've got all the information from him. Plus, I was already an accomplished Yokelman practitioner and teacher of that system, which comes from Jernlai Chung Bap Mei. So, when it comes to Do Wei's Bap Mei, it's exactly the same as Jernlai Chung's Bap Mei, just different forms, different makeup of movements. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the 8 energies of the hand, that's what truly Bap Mei is, as the Bat Fat, the 8 hand methods, right? So if you just knew those, because most of the forms are just built from those 8 hands, the others are just fillers and power training, right? The fighting techniques are those 8 hands of Bap Mei. Alright, so I hope that gives you a little bit of insight. The 2 forms, Chong Bo Kuen, Yeung Jik Bo Kuen, is the most important part of the training. Don't bother doing other forms if you cannot understand these 2 pulley systems. It's just stupidity. And it doesn't matter how many forms you got. If you're doing them wrong, it's just a shell and you just look stupid. And it doesn't make you a cipher. It just means you're an imposter. You just mimic the movements, and that's not going to promote Do Family Bap Mei. All it's just going to do is disrespect the Grandmaster and his family system, which has been happening quite a lot lately with people giving out sashes and certificates, doing books and videos, and has no idea what they're talking about. Anyway, I hope that is of some help for Kevin and everyone else. There's a couple of people messaging me about the syllabus of Bak Fu Pai, and like I said on the email to one of them, every teacher out there of Bak Fu Pai that I've known has a complete different syllabus of forms. Right, the Grandmaster, Du Wei, he created a lot of forms for people, right? They paid money and created a system based on what they wanted. The Bap Mei, the same thing, I reckon, right? They're just forms. And as long as the most important methods and concepts are understood, then it's not worth, none of it's worth anything at all. Alright guys, so hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. Leave a like, subscribe, share. If it was any help, chuck a comment. Let's get some chit chat going. I know it's going to piss off a lot of people what I said, but what I say is the truth, and the truth will set you free. Peace.